me, my name is Judy Ann Chung, and I am the owner and founder of Coaching You Upward. I am your confidence and your leadership coach, wherein I am able to build your confidence, elevate your awareness, retrain your mindset, and ultimately activate your brilliance that allows you to take your ideas from concept to reality. So that's a little bit about me in terms of what I do on my business. From a corporate standpoint, I have 20 plus years experience in the investment banking industry, where I have worked with a couple of different international banks. I've worked with small brokerage firms also, and but most of my time was spent with international banks in the investment component of it. So from a corporate standpoint, that's what I do, and obviously that's also where I met Wadeeha. Wadeeha and I go back, I don't know, 10 plus years. I've lost track.
15, I think. Yeah, 15,
Okay.
2005. I
Give me
remember
the
that.
eyes, but that's true. And hold on. And I'm realizing that I'm talking away and I don't have my headset in. But obviously you could hear me. But let me put that in. That's the beauty of live. So
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So let me just take this out 1 second. 1 second. Okay, so now that I'm a little bit better situated. Yeah, I was talking, but I realized why I wasn't hearing you that clearly is because I had my headset plugged in, but I didn't have it in my actually in the phone. Okay. So as I was sharing with you that you were laughing that we've known each other for 10 plus years, from a professional experience point of view. And one thing I can tell you is that I have been privileged to watch Wadeeha's career grow. And, she is very knowledgeable, and whatever she sets her mind to, of course, she goes for it gusto. So I can assure you guys you're in good hands. Let me just share with you a little bit about her bio. So, of course, her name is Wadeeha Jackson. She's a dynamic regulatory strategist and advisor. She has an MBA concentration in general management and international strategy, and she has spent majority of her career focused in the financial services industry, primarily in banking and lending, partnering with division level and corporate level executives. But Wadeeha is an effective problem solver and connector. She's adapted to defining regulatory risk, strategic risk, implementing mitigating risk, and managing through crisis and change. And she's integrating processes and technology. For over 16 years, she has worked with Fortune 500 companies, developing and executing both risk-based compliance programs, as well as organic growth initiatives to enhance profitability through increased revenue and or realized cost savings. Wadeeha is now a community member of the Crypto Training Center, a Bitcoin Training Center. Is a startup dedicated to educated individuals in cryptocurrency, virtual currencies, and blockchain ledger technologies. She's also worked with Coinbase, and which is an industry-leading cryptocurrency exchange. And during her tenure there, she worked in the AML compliance division. So that's just a little bit about Wadeeha. As you can see, you're definitely in capable hands. And just to share two more things with you about her. Actually, she is certified as a certified anti-money laundering specialist, as well as she is the president and chair of the Greater Network Cares Mentoring Movement. So as we all know, that is a huge movement. So that is very important, and I know it's near and dear to her heart also, right?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about Wadeeha. What I'm going to do is pause for a moment and just hand it over to you if you wanted to share anything else about yourself.
Yeah, so like Judy Ann stated, I pretty much have an extensive background in finance and banking, and became very interested in cryptocurrency when the introduction in the 2008 financial crisis. And as you know, at that time with the financial crisis, there was like a really big movement for people to gain ownership because they
Right.
felt like the intermediary banks weren't responsible with their, finances. So people just felt like, I want to remove this intermediary. I want to have more control over my assets and my currency. So let's build off of this. And the inception of digital and cryptocurrency, what we're going to speak about today, it's not
Mm-hmm.
it's not just exclusive to that 2008 crisis. It actually dates back to 1990, but there was a game changer that really occurred during that time frame that makes it very
Okay.
instrumental in how we're now doing transactions now to date.
Oh, okay. All right. So obviously you were able to see that there was a trend in development and you did the smart thing, right? In terms of
Yeah.
shipping over to that
Well,
end of the world.
yeah, it took
Okay,
years.
go
It
ahead.
took some years because being in compliance, you're a bit conservative. So it took over 10
Right.
years for me to say, I'm going to make this transition because I fairly made it back in 2017. So that was like 7 years,
Oh,
or
okay.
not even seven, but so a few years. But it took me some, really good insight to say, this is where things are now trending towards.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it was a good move because it's something that's only going to go, you know, probably get bigger and better. Let's face it, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but if we recall, is JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs are getting on the bandwagon. If they're doing it, that's a positive sign. So, okay.
Hmm.
So thank you so much for that. And, Wadeeha, we're going to pause within the program. And also, if you want to share anything about what you're currently doing, and what you want to promote yourself, feel free to share that with us either now or later on. It's up to you.
Okay, no
Okay,
problem.
great, great, great. And the one thing that I also want to share before we kick off is for the guys who are on here and also those who watch the replay. First of all, thank you so much for being here. Christine, I see you. I thought I saw Mark also. Thank you so much. Mark, long time no see. So again, thank you guys. Please feel free to go and share. I see some of you have already done so. For those of you who have done that, thank you. For those who haven't, what are you waiting for? Okay. So anyway, so yeah, sharing is caring. All right, guys. So I will also just want to make a quick announcement. I am also having a free Confidence Mastermind that will take place on March 12th. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's virtual, so if you're in a different country, it really doesn't matter as long as you're willing to invest that time, or you can get the replay. So feel free to go ahead and register for that. It's on my website, which is coachingyouupward.com. Right, so let us kick off to give you guys why you actually came here, right? So you want to know a little bit more about cryptocurrencies, what it's all about. So we're going to start from, as I said, the most basic definitions, and then we're going to, ramp up to it. So let's kick off. So, oh, and let me just be clear. We both work in the investment banking industry. So our conversation here is strictly educational. It is not by any means making any recommendation for you to buy anything or sell anything. So we just have to put that disclaimer out there. I'm in risk. She's in
Yes, and
compliance.
I'm at
So,
rice.
exactly. So we got
By
to
no
protect
means is
not
this advisory. So we
exactly, right?
recommend that you consult a financial advisor for further information and guidance. There are financial advisors that are knowledgeable about cryptocurrency
Right.
outside of the market exchanges.
Right. Okay, perfect. All righty. So now that we've done all the housekeeping, so let's kick off. So let's start at the very basic level. So, Wadeeha, if you can share with us what is cryptocurrency?
Cryptocurrency is a digital currency that is similar to electronic money, for an
Hmm.
exception. Bitcoin is a digital currency, but it's a type of virtual currency. Um,
Okay.
it, its alternatives are based on the cryptographic algorithms, so that's what makes it different. So it's an encryption. But Bitcoin, there's a address, and that address can change. It's a unique identifier, similar to an ID, but it has no name, no individual attached to it. It's just a
Hmm.
way of how that algorithm translates on a blockchain, which we'll speak about later. But it's a type of virtual currency. It just
Hmm.
evolved to a cryptocurrency, which makes it cryptic, which deals with the technology.
Okay, so you're basically saying the term crypto is more from the fact that it's I don't want to say it's completely untraceable, but it's the fact that it gives a level of privacy. It's being encrypted.
Yes, it's the
Okay.
encryption. So just like if I have a wallet, so most people will, when you open and establish or gain cryptocurrency, you'll have a
Hmm.
wallet. That wallet is your individual wallet. It could be kept on a storage, which is like your computer, or it could be kept cold storage. Cold storage is a device where you can move all your assets to onto a little
Hmm.
device, and it could be put into your, you could access it virtually, digitally to utilize it on an exchange or fiat, convert it to fiat USD. So, but that algorithm, that crypto that we state is an encryption that keeps it secure. It's supposed to be unhackable. That's why what makes it different from just being
Okay.
a virtual digital currency. That's why it's called crypto, as in terms of how it's the algorithm is built in.
Okay. So I want to take it even a little bit more basic than that, right? Because like I've heard you utilize some terms there that if somebody is not, aware of what a cryptocurrency is, they're still not even going to know what, like a fiat you just mentioned, right? Now I know what
Hmm.
you mean, but I don't think there could be people that will listen to this that may not know. So let's take it down. So maybe let's go to like layman terms, right? Like we were saying,
Hmm.
so okay, if I was to ask you, and I'm talking to someone who's I don't know, a kid, right?
Hmm.
And I want to explain to them what is a cryptocurrency. Let's get it to that basic level. Is that something that's doable?
Yes, so it's a virtual digital currency. It's still a digital currency. Crypto is
Right.
just the algorithm. So it's still techie. It's
Mm-hmm.
really nothing else I can explain outside of that. It's just that it's the algorithm that separates it and makes it more encrypted due to
Right.
addresses that you have. So if you were to purchase Bitcoin, you're going to get an address. That address is the
Mm-hmm.
unique identifier on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
The blockchain is what we're going to talk about later. The blockchain essentially
Right.
is a general ledger in layman's terms,
Okay.
like an accountant does
Right.
its debit and credit. That's the
Mm-hmm.
transparent, public, decentralized ledger that
Okay.
coin could be traced on that transaction. And what they
Okay.
do is they're verifying that transaction, which that address allows them to validate where it's going and where it's coming from.
Okay. Alrighty. So I mean, and that's what I was trying to get at, right? Just to take it to that level. Because as I
Hmm.
said, we're in the industry, so we'll probably understand. And the truth is, there could be some people that's in the industry that do not understand. There was a time when I didn't. I was like, what the heck is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So I had to do my homework and to get acclimated with it. Okay. So, guys, just to let you know, Greenwood, I saw that you shared. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here with us. Just to let you know, as you know, my lives are always interactive, so you're always welcome to ask questions. So if there's something that was stated by Wadeeha or myself and you're not clear on, please feel free to go ahead and type in the comment section, and we'll be more than happy to respond. Okay, so just move on from there. Um, just approximation of like this year. About how long have cryptocurrencies been a you know an active traded
It's
asset?
it's dated back to like the 1990s. The first
Mhm.
digital currency that was like traded was e-gold back in
Okay.
1996. Most of the digital currencies at that time was centralized, so they only were
Okay.
distributed between like engineers, gamers, and people of that nature. So they date
Okay.
as far back to the 1990s.
Oh wow. Okay. So I guess it makes sense also about the technical component of it because you said it was more geared towards gamers and engineers. Okay. So it
Mhm.
kind of makes a lot more sense now too. Okay. Alrighty, so guys, are you with us? Are you still understanding? Either if remember, if there are any questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask. Alrighty, so no, you had already mentioned blockchain a couple different times,
Mhm.
but let's now go into the definition of say, okay, what is a blockchain? And then in addition to explaining what the blockchain is, also if you can share the correlation of what does a cryptocurrency, and how it correlates with a blockchain. So,
Okay. So the blockchain is a database, also known as the ledger.
okay.
It's a decentralized ledger. So just like I specified back in the 90s that most of the digital currencies were centralized, The blockchain is a component of the invention of Bitcoin. So that's why the Bitcoin was a game changer back in 2008. It allowed, it came with the technology of the public ledger, which decentralized, which allows more peer-to-peer transactions, more efficiency between transactions with the removal of executing trades, currency without an intermediary institution. So that was the game changer, was the blockchain technology. So as I stated, it's a public ledger that records transactions of digital assets. Blockchain technology is a part of Bitcoin. It allows peer-to-peer transfers. And the blockchain is, like I stated, decentralized to allow for transparency. So as I previously stated, back in 2008, that's why it's significant. There was a movement with individuals feeling like they couldn't trust the larger institutions. So a white paper was created and published back during that financial era by, I forget the gentleman's name, but you could look up the white paper. No one knows him. He's unknown, just FYI.
Really?
Yeah.
I heard that, but I didn't think it was true. It's true.
No, it is true. He never revealed himself. He's anonymous, and the white paper is 4 pages, and it just speaks of the general ledger, the transparency, how you don't need the intermediaries to transact. That's pretty much it. But the blockchain is the bulk of why, in my opinion, totally, why Bitcoin has become very significant within how we transact business. And one way I can explain blockchain, if you use now the Cash App, Venmo, those are examples of a blockchain technology. It allows you to execute your transactions peer-to-peer. The only difference is that it's done in US dollar, which is considered fiat. Whereas opposed, that technology inception was derived from Bitcoin.
Right. And I loved what you just did, because you just took it, remember, I love speaking in layman terms, right? Because that allows people who are not within the industry to truly get a grasp of it. So I loved what the example that you just gave with the, the Cash App, because just about everybody knows about Cash App now, right? And so that's a perfect example of currency being done on a virtual basis, right? Without any bank intermediary that's holding up the process, or, additional
and then you can
extra fees.
And think about how you can see your friends, your network transactions, because if they make it public, it's a public ledger. So it entails, it's essentially they're centralized, because Venmo is PayPal, so that's a centralized blockchain because it's within their network. But blockchain itself is public. So if everybody got on board to blockchain and just exclusively did Bitcoin, you could see from a global scale where all of these Bitcoin addresses is going. Only difference, you can't see the individual name, because I've done transaction investigations on blockchain itself.
Oh, okay. So you're not able to see the individual who owns it, but you're able to see the actual, that there's a transaction, put it that way.
That coin, where that coin went, where it's been on a blockchain. The further, you can even see to the dark web.
Oh, really? Okay. Right. But at the end of the day, you're still not able to trace who owns it. Okay, interesting.
That's
I guess
subjective.
Yeah. Okay.
That's too technical for this conversation. But
put it this way, I guess everything can be traceable to a certain point, but there will be extra work. Christine is saying, I'm going to have to do the replay and also share, because I do not have a good connection right now, but very interesting. Yeah, Christine, I'm sure you would, because Christine also has a financial services background, just based on some of her postings that I've seen in the past. So I'm sure this will be very interesting to you and your network, Christine. So thank you for being accountable. So yeah, okay. Alrighty, so let's move on from there. So we're also talking about, gave the explanation of the blockchain, which of course was awesome. And so if we were to just shorten the definition of a blockchain, as you said, it's just like a general ledger.
That's it. It's a public ledger.
Right. Okay. A public ledger. Okay, great. Alrighty, so let's move on from there. So now you also spoke about peer-to-peer. Let's just clarify that, what you mean when you say if it's a peer-to-peer. transaction, if that's the right term.
Yes, it is. Peer-to-peer just means
Okay.
between me and you. Like for instance, if you want to execute a trade, a ACH, a debit from your account, you have to
Right.
initiate that debit from your financial institution and tell them where to pay it
Mm-hmm.
to. If you want
Right.
to create a wire initiation to pay a wire
Mm-hmm.
transfer overseas or to an individual per se, you would initiate that transaction. So those are the
Okay.
ways that we're familiar with transacting money, or through MSBs, which is your Western Unions, but everything you have to utilize that institution to initiate that transfer. But with the
Right.
blockchain technology and ownership of cryptocurrency, you can in fact have your own currency, which is a
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin or whichever one of virtual currencies, and you can initiate that transaction from your wallet, your own personal wallet on a
Right.
blockchain, and then I can transfer it directly to you. So that's the
Okay.
difference. I'm not utilizing an intermediary to execute my transaction. That was the
Right.
inception of cryptocurrency. It has
Mm-hmm.
evolved um,
Mm-hmm.
to different ways of executing and utilizing it as an asset, but that was the core essence of why it was created, to create some form of freedom between consumers.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's great. So guys, again, hopefully you're also grasping on understanding here. So basically it gives you that level of, privacy. Then in addition to that, it also gives you, cuts out that middle person, right?
And
So,
it allows for efficiency because just think, you know how we do trading. It was like
right.
3 days plus one, and then like ACH, you get three
Oh, just
days.
cash.
So yeah, so when you do it electronic transmittal wires or ACH transmittals, those take about 2 to 3 days to actually execute, whereas
Right.
in blockchain, it allows for that efficiency because you see it instantaneously because I'm just giving it to you.
Right. 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 Okay. All right. Makes sense, makes sense. Alrighty. So let's move on. So we spoke about, just giving the explanation of the correlation with blockchain. Now let's move it to the more transactional component of it, right? So again, guys, if you haven't, hopefully you've been listening. If you haven't been listening from the beginning, what we did, we went very basic, defining what cryptocurrency is. We defined where it's housed, being the in a blockchain, and then we also defined even on a very basic rudimentary level where, how do you actually view it and what it can do for you. And we take it as, just so you could even better relate to day to day, we took it down to the Cash App level. So that will give you a level of understanding of what is a type of virtual currency here. Alrighty. Hi, Georgia. Thanks for joining. Nice to see you. Okay. Please feel free to go ahead and share. And Georgia, what are you in St. Martin? I forget. What's the country you're in again? Please feel free to share that with us. I forget, and don't kill me. I know I should know that, but I forgot. Anyway, okay. So, Wadeeha, let's now talk about it from the more transactional and or the utilization part of it. Like, if someone wanted to say utilize cryptocurrency, how would they go about doing that?
So there's currently what people need to do is, so think of how we do our currency exchange market prior to cryptocurrency inception. If you wanted
Mm-hmm.
to change USD
Mm-hmm.
to euro, you would go to your banking
Right.
institution. So most people, when they purchase blockchain, I mean, not blockchain, Bitcoin, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin, they purchase it from an exchange currently. So they go to the exchange, which Coinbase is one, Gemini is another, Binance is another. So they go to the exchange, they purchase a number of Bitcoins, and they
Right.
for in conversion in exchange for fiat. So these are the platforms that you can take your dollars, whichever GDP, whichever they accept as USD, and purchase your Bitcoin. Now you can maintain a wallet through your own individual wallet through these currencies and then exchange them based on market rates. So it's similar
Okay.
to how we currently exchange for fiat, and fiat is our USD in the United States versus Bitcoin, which the acronym for Bitcoin is BTC.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you're basically now correlating the traditional, foreign exchange rate. Like if I want to travel and I want to go to somewhere in the UK and I need either pounds or euros, you're saying that basically it's a similar format, but it's just virtual. And you're also saying that I can take that currency and actually purchase a Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
That's
All right.
mainly how people are now transacting now. Other ways in how people are transacting is they still have peer-to-peer. They have local, where people
Mm-hmm.
take their personal wallets and they might exchange it for transaction. Those are called local Bitcoin transactions. They're done off the exchange through people wallets.
Okay.
As far as like, I've met people personally who have taken their Bitcoin and put it on credit cards. There are credit cards that allow you to transfer your Bitcoin to, so you can utilize it in the market. A lot of people are not
Mm-hmm.
aware of that, but I've personally met people. I know people who do not do nothing in United States dollars. They do it totally in Bitcoin.
Really?
Even when you
Okay.
work for these currency exchanges, you can choose to get paid in Bitcoin. Like I had a choice. I didn't have to get paid in USD. I could choose to get paid in Bitcoin.
Oh, wow. But you said something very key there, which I'm going to ask you to delve in a little bit deeper because you spoke about utilizing your credit card, and then you also spoke about obviously the opportunity to be paid in Bitcoin versus whatever local currency that you work in a particular country. So say a little bit more again. If you could repeat the part of it about utilizing your credit card. Repeat that part for me.
You can invest. So there's certain credit card companies, more fintech. So fintech is an acronym for financial technology companies. You're not going to get
Mm-hmm.
those type of credit card servicings from your
Okay.
Citibanks or any JP Morgan. You're going to have to go to a fintech company that specializes in blockchain technology and
Mm-hmm.
understands the cryptocurrency market. Those credit cards, they essentially, you can just transfer those funds and they convert to Bitcoin. I've
Okay,
watched.
so let's pause a little bit, right?
Mhm.
So you're saying you can utilize your credit card, but you can't use it at the standard bank. You have to utilize it as a send company. Now, can you give them some examples of some of those kind of companies that they'll be able to utilize that at?
I'm not sure of the companies off gate, but they do exist because I've noticed them. Big fintech companies, they're startups. They come, I could name one and it might not be in existence, but there
Okay, so
are
they can just Google
several.
it.
Yeah, they could just Google it. Merchants services, because merchants, they accept Bitcoins. It's a part of,
Mm-hmm.
we have merchant services as well. But I say
Oh,
credit
okay.
card, but essentially it's a debit card at the end of the day. It's a debit card that you could
Oh, it's a
use for
debit
your
card.
wallet.
Mhm.
You could transfer your Bitcoin to, and you can utilize your Bitcoin.
Okay, so the Bitcoins can be housed, connected to your debit card.
It could be connected from a card that's issued from that fintech company. So you could
Okay.
utilize
And when
it.
Okay, and when you say fintech, that's FINTEC, correct?
Yeah, it's just an acronym for technology, a financial technology company.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to get that clarity there and put it out there so people will understand. Because again, not being in, there are people who will listen to this who will not be familiar with, the acronym that's being used, etc. And for those of you who have just joined us, thank you so much. I've seen where there have been some shares. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And just so you know, so the title of today's live is basically crypto what or crypto who, whichever direction you want to go. You say that usually most people get a little bit scared about it because obviously it's a new instrument, or as the industry refers to it, it's a new asset,
Asset.
and everybody's used to the traditional way of trading, and this is probably would be more considered probably a little bit more non-traditional. So
Hmm.
there's a little bit more trepidation, and in some people they get a little bit scared about it because they really are uncomfortable with being able to understand it, and it's a little bit complicated. So that's for the reason for the live here. Early on, I introduced Wadeeha. She's of course more than qualified in her experience and her professional experience to be able to share some knowledge with us on that. Okay, so let's move forward. Now, we spoke about that we could use a credit card. we spoke about using the credit card. We spoke about how we, not the credit card, the debit card rather. But
Mm-hmm.
let's also talk about, we know we can buy it, but is there other ways of utilizing cryptocurrency, i.e.
Well,
rewards or, things
oh
like that?
yeah. So there are certain companies that, like, for instance, my former company, they have Gift Crypto. So what
Okay.
they're doing is they're going across the global, different countries, and they're gifting crypto. So these to
Hmm.
small businesses, and those small businesses in these impoverished areas are now utilizing the currency because it's holds more weight than their current dollar.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's how they're introducing utilization at that level. You
Okay.
can, like I said, merchants, there are certain merchants that will allow you to purchase and pay in Bitcoin.
Hmm.
But you just need to get on those particular platforms. They may allow you just to exchange for their wallet, and then they'll hold a merchant account at like a exchange, a cryptocurrency exchange, so they can convert them and do it on a blockchain. So there, you
Oh,
just
okay.
would have to, oh, for instance, I also have, there are Bitcoin ATMs. That's another thing. So I
Oh, yeah.
personally have a client in Atlanta who he has a Bitcoin depot, and that's the company
Hmm.
name. So he has different Bitcoin ATMs where people can purchase Bitcoin at the ATM. So,
Okay.
yeah, and these are terminals specifically for converting cryptocurrency and fiat.
So you would go up to the ATM and you would put in, say, a fintech debit card to
No, in this
purchase.
instance, you would have to know your wallet. So if you have your
Okay.
Bitcoin purchase, this is removing from the debit card. These are different entities servicing, trying to make it more utilization within the market, meaning they're making it the ease of use, more
Hmm.
functionality to the cryptocurrency. Because I think that's where everybody gets stumped at. How do I use this currency? And now
Right.
all of the financial technology companies, be it a credit card servicing agency, be it your local exchange such as Gemini or Coinbase, they are really researching new innovative ways to make it more accessible for the public and also educating people.
Right.
So with that being
Exactly.
said, Bitcoin Depot is another just the ATM is just another source of where you could take
Hmm.
that address because everybody's going to
Hmm.
get an address when you purchase your cryptocurrency, and you'll have to utilize that address because it belongs to you and it's your personal wallet. And you would go to that cryptocurrency exchange, and if you have that wallet, you can then exchange your currency right there and get the money immediately in cash.
Okay. Okay. So you know what? Initially, in terms of my flow of questions, I was going to, try to get the education behind it. But I think I want to jump ahead and then switch things around a little bit because of how the conversation is flowing. And
Hmm.
that is to ask you, if somebody wanted to, say, get into the cryptocurrency market, um, what would they need to do to open an account? So I think I need to say that only because we've been talking about how they can purchase it and everything like that. How would they get that
Okay.
wallet? Where's the starting point?
So I'm not promoting any, I just want to take that moment to point a disclaimer. I'm
Exactly.
not promoting any exchange in particular, but as the easiest exchange and most trusted exchange is Coinbase. That's the former institution I worked for. They make it very seamless. Like you could just go connect your bank account, purchase the currency or credit card, purchase the currency, and you open an account. It takes about 5 minutes. The other exchange is Gemini. So you could just do a Google research or for cryptocurrency exchanges, open account.
Hmm.
They make it very easy. They do have their due
Okay.
diligence where you will need an ID because a lot of people are like, why do I need ID? You said that it's anonymous. This market is not anonymous. And we could speak on that in terms of regulations further. But account opening with these exchanges is simply very seamless. You just would
Hmm.
open your account, you would get onto their platform, and from there you would connect either your credit card as a funding because it's currency conversion. You're purchasing it with
Right.
your currency, or your link a bank account, and from there you could just purchase it based on whatever you wanted to purchase for.
Okay, okay. So I see that, so guys, if it's not clear to you, like how you'd go about and open an account, but basically it's just like any account application, you just go to the right company. As it says, we're not promoting any particular, firm. Um, do your research, talk to your advisor, and they can then direct you. But at the end of the day, it's just simply, you fill out a regular account opening application, and you go from there in terms of, setting your wallet up, etc. Right?
Hmm.
So Mark is asking, is mining server worth it?
That's a more technology question. Okay. Everything I state from here is an opinion. Miners,
Okay.
so let's just go back. So what he's asking is mining. So mining is when you manage the blockchain, that general ledger.
Okay.
So remember we stated that it's a public ledger. Of course, like when you have a ledger, who manages your ledger? Your accountant.
Right. Right.
Miners, they manage it. And just remember, all of this is electronic. So with mining, you would have to purchase multiple servers. As a result, you will have to have energy cost. You will have to be able to invest in those CPUs, those different servers, and you will have to manage it. How the miners get paid is they get paid in Bitcoin. Now, conceptually,
Okay.
when there's only a certain amount of, I'm not proficient in mining, but people mine and because they're collecting payment for Bitcoin. The Just imagine people who were collecting Bitcoin and mining early in 2008, Bitcoin went up to as far as 15,000 last year.
Right.
It's
Right.
now hovering at 4,000, so it's a bit stable right now. But to them, it's not much of a loss because they were in it early.
Right.
So
Right.
mining, it's just based on you have to like any business venture because it is a business, your
Hmm.
opportunity cost versus what you're gaining. So do I think it's good now? I'm not certain about that because the high it's Bitcoin is 4,000, and there's only a certain amount of Bitcoin number that's available. I don't know that off the top of my head, but once it gets to that number, that's when there's no longer going to be necessary miners. They're just at that point they're just
Okay.
going to be validating. Mining right now, they're producing more Bitcoins because that's where they're making money right now. So is it
Okay.
worth it? I would say speak to more of someone on an engineering side because that's more in depth into the technology. But also just keep in mind when you're mining, you do have to purchase the equipment. It is a very intensive electricity bill. So
Yeah.
keep all of that in
All
mind.
right. So, Mark, hopefully that gave you the answer, but in the interest of time, let's just try to get through some more of the questions. But as you can hear, that is, depending on when you got into the market in terms of the mining, obviously, and in terms of whether or not it'd be worth with the equipment, the electricity bills, etc. And obviously, speaking more to a more, technical person who would be able to better answer that for you at this time. But
And
hopefully
you
the
can
answer was
also
sufficient.
mine, I guess like our next conversation is going to be what are the other cryptocurrencies. So just keep in mind there's more than just Bitcoin. You have other
Right.
virtual currencies that are on particular blockchains that do have mining capabilities, like Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Lite. So there's other
Mhm.
cryptocurrencies that do require mining on the blockchain.
Okay. Alrighty. So let's move on from the mining and let's also talk. So you also brought up a different kind of Bitcoin. So let's talk about what's the difference between a Bitcoin and an alt currency. So when I say alt, guys, it's ALT, which basically
Hmm.
is an alternative currency. What's the difference?
The difference is altcoin is just anything other than Bitcoin. It just is an alternate
Okay.
coin other than Bitcoin. Bitcoin has become the standard. Anything before Bitcoin, it's just like it didn't exist because everybody just knows and understands Bitcoin. So you were to
Right.
say, "Oh, e-gold," everybody's gonna look like, "Oh, what is that?"
What
So
does that mean?
conceptually, everybody just understand Bitcoin because they know it's substantial. They know in the market how it's done. So any coin after Bitcoin is considered an alternate coin.
Okay. All right. Now, how does that work into the peer-to-peer when you're utilizing it? So, mean
It's the same concept.
same same
Hmm.
concept. Okay. So,
It's
guys,
just
so
a
just so
different
you
coin.
know, Okay, so just so you know, the reason why I asked about peer-to-peer, if you weren't listening to the earlier part of the conversation, we had basically said that, when you're utilizing the cryptocurrency, it needs to be, peer-to-peer. I don't know if it has to be peer-to-peer all the time, or if you can have a Bitcoin and some other alt currency. I'm not sure, but I think the rule of thumb is usually that you go peer-to-peer. I think that's a standard
So,
rule of thumb,
l-
right?
so wait, so let's take that back.
Okay.
Peer-to-peer is the concept of if I had a wallet and wanted to exchange with you. But most people
Okay.
nowadays are utilizing the cryptocurrency exchanges to
Hmm.
exchange and utilize their currency. It's a it's a
Okay.
s- it's a market that is using it for peer-to-peer payments, but they're still going to go
Hmm.
to, if they want to exchange it for fiat, like US
Hmm.
dollar, they're going to go to a currency
Hmm.
exchange. So the currency exchanges are going to be involved in the process. But
Okay.
for altcoin, for the purpose of the conversation, altcoin, you can take your Bitcoin to purchase an alternate coin,
Okay. Okay. So the
depending on the
Bitcoin to
exchange.
purchase, depending
Yes.
on the exchange. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
So that is key, depending on the exchange. Okay. Cool. Perfect.
Hmm.
All righty. So we spoke about the main currencies that are being traded. Uh, well, we just said altcoin, but you know what? Let's go a little bit deeper, and just a 2 second answer in terms of what are some of the other main coins outside of Bitcoin that people should be familiar with.
Ethereum is very popular.
Okay.
Ethereum is a cryptocurrency, but it's also a contract. So if I wanted to make a smart contract, I
Mm-hmm.
can, like, for example, there are farmers in Africa that need
Right.
money. They can
Mm-hmm.
go into a contract with you where you can lend them money so they can do their farming. They could create a smart
Mm-hmm.
contract on the Ethereum platform.
Oh, okay.
Ethereum also allows for the inception of other coins. So it's like my manager used to explain it to me like it's like a road where you have multiple cars on the road. So Ethereum
Okay.
allows you to have like a ICO, which we'll go into it, which is an initial coin offering. So you can develop
Mm-hmm.
your own coin. You can get people to
Mm-hmm.
purchase that coin, and it could be backed on the Ethereum platform. So that's why Ethereum is
Okay.
really popular and
Right.
significant because it
Right.
allows for those more in-depth, more innovative
Contract.
ways of
Okay.
contracts and transactions. Bitcoin
Right.
Cash is another one that's a alternate coin. Litecoin is another alternate coin.
Mm-hmm.
XRP is another popular one, and I'm naming the top ones. And if you want to research, there's over 100 alternate coins on the market. If
Okay.
you want to
Okay.
research alternate coins, you can go to Coin Market Cap.
Coin market cap to research. So I did hear somebody refer to the Ethereum as the queen, of the cryptocurrency. So they refer to Bitcoin as the king, you know. So
It is.
I read that some time ago. I don't remember when, but
They're
I
the
did read
top
that.
two traded, and the reason being is Ethereum allows for a lot of contracts you'll see on there, and there's like all of this is public. So if you wanted to
Hmm.
look, because through the blockchain for Ethereum, you could look at all the transactions that have been
Okay.
traded that day and the value. Coin market cap allows you to look at the value and the value for each cryptocurrency that is available and that's being traded.
Okay. Okay. That's good to know. Alrighty. So let's just take that into what we refer to as ICO. So
Mhm.
guys, ICO, just so you regular market understanding, is the virtual currency equivalent to, an IPO. So of course, in the standard market, we'll know an IPO is basically a new company that's going public, right? And so it's an initial public offering. And then, ICO is a similar, which what does ICO stand for again? Initial what?
Initial coin offering, just like initial public offering. It's just a
Okay, so
coin.
initial coin offering. Okay, good. So it's just the same thing. And the reason I brought that up was to give you something that you can quickly mentally align it with. Alrighty, so share with us, is there anything else you wanted to add, Wadeeha,
Yes.
on ICO? Okay.
Yes. So initial coin offerings are coins created on an Ethereum platform that are usually backed by crowdfunding or source efforts. For example,
Okay.
there are companies that would like to raise funds to launch products or services similar to an
Mm-hmm.
IPO. So if I launched that, if I had a company, I needed stock, I'll go to my broker. The broker would, issue those shares and they would get the money so I can have assets. ICO is similar. ICOs on the
Mm-hmm.
Ethereum platform, they're instituted to pay for some form of initiative. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you can register with the SEC, which is the Security Exchange Commission.
Right.
They're not always registered because I've seen a lot of hedge funds are getting into ICOs and individual
Okay.
companies. I've seen medical companies, issue a ICO. The key warning as a compliance specialist that I, tell people is everyone is looking for the next best thing, meaning the next best Bitcoin,
Yes.
where they could, the unicorn that came about with Bitcoin back in 2016 and getting in low. It's similar to what we've experienced in the stock market. I can't
Right.
stress enough how you need to be very careful with ICOs. Number one, the SEC and the regulators are still working towards creating parameters and regulations surrounding around ICOs, and they
Mm-hmm.
have implemented some, but we are noticing always that people are creating these ICOs, these coin offerings, and there have been fraudulent activity behind it. There was
Okay.
once some celebrities that were in the news. I think Mayweather was associated with an ICO that was fraudulent, beknownst to him.
Oh, wow.
So it's
Okay.
important to do your due diligence before you invest in any initial coin offering. Um, that's why I stress go do your due diligence on a coin market cap. There are
Mm-hmm.
also some platforms that follow ICOs, but I can't stress if you do see an ICO, someone approach you, and conduct your due diligence.
Right. And what be some of the ways that they can conduct the due diligence?
Oh, you could just take the ICO and just do a name search. It's just as easy as going to Google. I think people think they have to do so much, but
Oh, okay.
you really I'm a compliance professional. I conduct these investigations on an ongoing basis. I utilize
Mm-hmm.
every use of public information that I can do. It's
Right.
no different to what people have access to. So there's really no
Right.
excuse to when individuals are like, well, I don't know where to start. You start with Google. Take that ICO name
Good old
and
Google.
and people will review. That's the one thing about the community. People will
Mm-hmm.
speak on it. Even when you go to Ethereum, their site,
Mm-hmm.
you could click and you could see all it because it's public. It's a public ledger. You could see people comments. I
Oh,
would take
okay.
those
Okay.
comments into consideration when people would say, "Oh, I got ripped off." You want to take heed to that. Some people you have to take it with a
Okay.
grain of salt because some people are just upset with certain things and they
Right.
might say derogatory information on a legitimate concept. But
Mm-hmm.
just conduct your due diligence. I can't stress that enough. It's nothing. I have no magic stick. I use the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
The
Alrighty.
only difference I may have is the blockchain, which most people won't have. But at the end of the day, you just do your due diligence on Google and you should be fine. And ask
Okay.
professionals and keep professionals that are very close to the market and you can pass it to them.
Okay. Alrighty. So we're coming down to the hour. So, and we still have some questions. We're not going to get to go through all of them, but we're going to try our best to answer some of the key ones here. Now, let's take it to the compliance part of it a little bit. So Mark is saying I bought some through Robinhood, no transaction fees. Okay.
Yeah, Corbinhood.
Um,
Yeah, Robinhood, Corbinhood. They have no fees. So they're pretty
okay.
popular. Their market share is pretty significant and they're trusted as well. They're regulated.
Okay, good. Alrighty, awesome. So let's now switch things a little bit over. So we've told you, defined what, a cryptocurrency is. We also aligned it with some layman terms and everyday kind of transaction tool that you'll be used to, such as, a Cash App. We spoke about what a blockchain is. We also went into the different kinds of currencies they are. She just gave you maybe some of the, more obvious ones, the top ones. And then we spoke about how you could actually go ahead and open an account, not promoting any particular firm, And then we also spoke about the companies that are trying to get you to be able to transact it in a much easier format by going to, like an ATM, right? So obviously you can see the market is moving to what's made things a little bit more easier, and also to educate people, because I think that's one of the key things that keep a lot of people out of the market, is that they're not clear. And that's one of the reasons I've been pushing Wadeeha to give us, things on a very more rudimentary, everyday layman terms kind of things, to get people a little bit more comfortable so that they can, be educated. Okay, so we will be remiss if we don't also talk about the regulatory side of things, right? Just with her background, my background, and just the market. And with sharing information with you, we also need to, try to give you the information in a more rounded basis as possible. So we talk about crypto. We talk about it being decentralized. There's no middle person there. And basically that is supposedly to be free from bank regulations, etc. So is that so? Is it still so? If it was so, share.
Okay, so
Please.
just to give a background, my background is anti-money laundering and compliance. So my job is to ensure that banking and financial institutions comply with U.S. and global regulatory standards to prevent money laundering. If people remember, a lot of why Bitcoin has had a bad rap is because of a lot of drug activity being associated with the exchange. Now, I'm not stating that it's not in existence currently. A lot of those go from peer to peer on the black web, which that web is like so horrible. So, with that being said, you would be crazy like if you've seen what goes on the black web. But aside from that, it's regulated with the currency exchanges. So when you purchase Bitcoin, I would recommend getting Bitcoin from a currency exchange, because those exchanges are regulated. They're not FDIC insured, so let me specify. They're not insured institutions. It's a speculative instrument. It's considered an asset. It is not FDIC insured because they are not banks. But what money service businesses, which are most of the exchanges are, they transmit and they convert fiat. So they are by definition money service businesses, and therefore they still have an onus to follow U.S. regulatory standards in transacting and exchanging money. So such institutions such as the ones that we described, Coinbase, Gemini, Coinbase, those are regulated MSBs in the United States. And they are regulated by the IRS. They are registered through the federal government, and they do require some licensing standards. So they have a compliance program to adhere to those regulatory standards, and that's why it's essential that you associate yourself with a reputable institution that you can exchange your current currency at.
Okay. Alrighty. So at the end of the day, there is some level of regulation. It's not just this wild, wild west.
No, unless you're doing like, unless you're doing the black web, which people are doing that for a reason, just like any illicit activity.
Always go exactly. So
it's always going to exist.
Right. Okay. So you kind of answered one of the questions where I was going to ask you, is the potential greater for fraud? You did kind of answer that, but do you have anything else to add in terms of fraud?
Yeah, like the fraud is mainly, you're going to see that with ICOs. You're going to see it with people taking wallet addresses. And that's why it's essential on these currency exchanges, they have a compliance staff that conducts those due diligence to find that fraudulent activity or illicit activity, because they have an onus to it.
Now, can you share any illicit activities with us without naming the company, but just something that we should be, key to avoiding, possibly, without naming the companies?
Oh, I'm not naming company. I would just give you scenarios. It's the scenarios out there. Red flags, like I initially stated, local Bitcoin. So local Bitcoin is your peer-to-peer transaction through a wallet. So people will have their personal wallets on their phone, and some people will exchange currency to another peer, like out in the street. And then they'll get that address, or they'll change the address. Those could be fraud because they don't want you to track it. Those are ways people, that's why we kind of look at local Bitcoin differently. but there's no,
Hmm.
it's very subjective when you're looking for illicit activity.
Okay.
Another way people are utilizing Bitcoin for fraud, like I said, is through ICOs. They want to do these crowdsourcing efforts, and they want to, like, they pretty much are jumping on the back bandwagon of people who want to get rich. That's why you have to be very
Right.
careful where you get your information from. There's a lot of
Hmm.
information on YouTube where people are just stating and giving advice, and then they're
Right.
losing tons of money from people who are like, I got rich off of Bitcoin. Be very careful with that. It's a speculative instrument. It's like doing
Right.
options on on a stock exchange. Is high risk. Is a speculative
Right.
instrument. It fluctuates with the
Hmm.
market. So I can't stress with that. And that's where people find a lot of fraudulent activity. They create these ICOs. They go through initial coin offerings and have nothing to show
Hmm.
for it because the person then
Okay.
took their money and it was a shell company.
Right. Okay. So, speaking about it being high risk and that volatility, um, even though we have to wind down, but speak to what drives the volatility within that market so much. I mean, apart from the fact that it's speculative, right? Is there anything
Hmm.
else that undercurrent that drives that market?
Market demand, like anything else. It's just
Oh,
based on
okay.
demand, how much is
Oh, okay.
available, and just the same. Like any bad news, it's like a regular stock exchange. If you look at the charts, if you want to start following the charts of Bitcoin, you can see that is similar to the market. The vitality
Oh,
comes
okay.
from market demand.
Okay. Alrighty. So as we wind down, so one of the things that we wanted to just quickly touch on is that we know that JP Morgan as well as Goldman have now got on the bandwagon. We know a couple of years ago, Jamie Dimon had basically, I don't know his exact words, but I know he didn't think it was something that was here to stay. I think that's a fair enough,
Yeah, that's interesting
analogy.
because they
Right.
invested. That's what people don't really identify. They, like, the big institutions came together
Hmm.
and invested in blockchain technology a long time
Wow.
ago. So I'm not
Right.
surprised that they decided to come out with their own currency. And that's just a way of
Right.
them controlling being in the market, but not
Hmm.
absolutely being a cryptocurrency that's going to accept Bitcoin. But we accept the
Oh, okay.
blockchain technology. That's everything they say. We like blockchain,
Okay.
but no to Bitcoin. No to Bitcoin.
Right, right. So it's almost like, okay, I'll take part of it, but that's not the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
To
and I'll
say,
create my
okay,
own coin. Yeah.
or currency, okay. So I mean,
Mhm.
well, I guess that's their strategic, financial strategic moves, market
Mhm.
moves. Who knows if it came about organically or not, if they saw the light. But the bottom line is that we do know that the fact that you have two powerhouses, J.P. Morgan as well as Goldman, getting into the market now
Mhm. And
in
New York
that
Stock
space,
Exchange.
okay, there you go. So of course it's going to definitely seems like it's something that we should all get educated on. Guys, I know that I hope this was helpful to most of you here. For those, if you have any questions, you can feel free to type them in the comment fields. We are also going to be dropping uh, website as well as email address that if you wanted to touch base with Dia and work with her specific to her crypto training center. That information will be in the comments field, so you can contact her there. And in addition to that, as I said before, on the top of the hour, I am also offering a free confidence um, webinar that will be available to you. One of the areas and one of the reasons why we do these type of lives is basically to educate you, because if we educate you, then it will also increase your confidence, in this case, financially, right? So feel free to go ahead and register for that class. It is March 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wadeeha, I would just like to say thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. And I'll give you the last word. Is there anything you want to add?
Oh, just to further point out what Judy Ann stated, Crypto Training Center is a new startup. We're currently in the process of implementing training materials and certification. So what our intentions are is to have people walk away from the intro class with opening their first wallet after
Okay.
education. And then we have 3 levels: intro, trading, and advanced. And we look to launch our startup in second quarter of this year.
Okay. Wonderful. So guys, thank you for being here with us. For those of you who, I think some of you wrote that you were having a technical issue, you can always listen to the replay. We will definitely have it up there for you. And again, Wadeeha, thank you for just a reminder of who I am. I'm Judy Ann Chung, your confidence and your leadership coach. Thank you so much. I will also be posting my information so you can catch up with us whenever you would like. So thank you so much, guys. Take care. Have a nice rest of the afternoon. Wadeeha?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.